Take back your soul. This is another transmission from Mahadeva here at thunderwizard.com headquarters, where you find the world's only unified spiritual energy system at thunderwizard.com. Get ready, because here I come. Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. Saturn on June 4th is going to begin his retrograde back into Capricorn. He's going to be in Aquarius for a while, but he's going to begin moving back into Capricorn. And again, the question is, are we able to manifest a massive ascension event for the entire world, Saturday, June 4th? It's a question. I don't know the answer to that question. I'd like to believe that it will happen. Something intense is definitely happening, at least for me. Can't speak for you. And I'm perfectly ready to be mistaken. I'm not attached to anything. I'm not trying to give a psychic prediction, but I also know that we have the power. We have the power to choose to make this ascension happen. Everything is coming together for us as a planet, as a species. Everything is coming together for us to shift to that next level, if we can handle it. So that's kind of the question. Can you handle a major ascension event? Can you handle evolving to the next level? Can you handle letting go of your fear? People are addicted to their fear. Can you handle letting go of your anger? People are addicted to their anger. Are you willing to let go of your isolation? People are addicted to isolation. Are you willing to let go of feeling as though you are a victim of circumstance? Because that is a major shift. The universe doesn't happen to us. We think it does. And at a certain level of evolution, that is the experience of all beings, that the universe does things to us. Then when we move beyond that, we realize that the universe responds to us, works with us. So what is happening is, I didn't plan this. It was a very interesting coincidence, but I talked yesterday about a potential massive ascension event, which will be happening on Saturday, June 4th. I had not looked at astrology, the astrology of that date, until today. So what's going to be happening on June 4th of 2022 is that people all over the world are going to be using their powers of meditation and intent to connect, invite, and communicate loving, kind, extraterrestrial civilizations to come to the people of Earth and communicate with them. So there have been people who have been doing this for years. And it is called CE5 protocols, close encounters of the fifth kind. So you know about close encounters of the first, second, third, and fourth kind. But there's a close encounters of the fifth kind where we initiate contact without leaving Earth. We initiate contact with extraterrestrials from other civilizations, light years away from us. And we do that through our intentions. And I didn't know about this until recently, and it turns out, and it's not something that I would even talk about or consider, because I am a practical person, as much as you may think I'm not. I'm a very practical person. I believe in science. I believe in evidence. I believe in credible proof. I usually have to prove things before I'm willing to accept them. I usually have to learn how to experience them and repeat those experiences before I can say I have experience in something, even if it's supernatural. But there's overwhelming, credible evidence and proof that human beings have been initiating contact with other beings on other planets who come in response to your welcoming and wanting to connect with them. And what we have learned as a result of this is that the universe is actually not a physical universe, not in the way that we have come to believe it. We believe that this is a physical universe, and this is why there are agnostics and atheists. Well, that's one of the reasons, is because we only interact with the universe on a purely physical way. We think that spirituality is neat and cool, unless you're religious, and then you think religion is cool. But we don't have the experience in our frame of reference that the universe is actually a being of consciousness that responds to our consciousness. And these other civilizations, they have based the assumption of their reality on from their perspective, the fact that matter, physical matter, is accessed through your spiritual intentions. That your body is created from your spiritual intentions, your reality. We talk about it. I've talked about it for years. You create your own reality. But like you, I have to work really hard to make that happen. I struggle through making that happen, accepting it, flowing with it, believing it. But the nature of the universe is opposite of that. And that is what this ascension event will be. If you want to know what the ascension event will be, when it happens, it will be a complete shift, not only energy-wise, vibration-wise, but in terms of our perception of the universe. We will shift from living in a physical universe that affects us. It'll shift into a universe where the spirit and intent and thought and consciousness creates the physical universe. We've been living in a backwards universe, backwards understanding. We've basically been like animals. You know, animals, even though the truth is animals have consciousness as well. You know, and it would be interesting if we could get, you know, a whale or a porpoise, if we could, you know, give them the ability to speak in, you know, human language and in human terms, they would probably talk about reality from a consciousness perspective. So what's going to happen astrologically is June 4th, Saturn has moved from Capricorn. It was in Capricorn for a long time, and Saturn in Capricorn is about doing hard work, working your ass off, working off your karma. And then when Saturn moves into its second sign, which is Aquarius, it moves into Aquarius, and in Aquarius, Saturn gives the benefit of all of your hard work overcoming your karma. So Saturn has moved into Aquarius, and it is right now stopping. It's getting ready to turn around and go back the other direction. So when it's stopping, it's saying, okay, listen, I have wisdom for you. I have very important information for you that will result in your evolution, because evolution will only come as a result of you earning it, which is Saturn. Saturn is karma. You earn it. So if Saturn is giving blessings in Aquarius, it's only going to be giving what you have earned, what you have worked for, what you have, it'll bring knowledge. Because Aquarius is the third house from Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the sign of Jupiter that is the temple. So it's the holy place. It is the place where the priest is in the temple doing the rituals to bless and empower and protect the world. And so when the priest then turns to speak, to teach, this happens in Aquarius, because if we take Sagittarius as the first house, the third house from that would be Aquarius, and the third house has to do with speaking the truth, communicating, and communicating to the masses, communicating to the world. So when Saturn has moved into Aquarius, Saturn is bringing the karmic truth that will bring equality, that will bring freedom to the masses. And this is what Saturn is doing right now. So I can't speak for any of you guys, but I know that just in the past few weeks, I have had a major, once again, more deeply transformative shift and an awareness of what the heck this universe really is. And I have to say, I am so incredibly relieved, happy, I'm ecstatic at the knowledge, not just the theory, the hope that most of us, let's be honest, most human spirituality is the hope. We hope there's going to be an afterlife. We hope that life is based on our soul and our spirit. We do things, speaking for myself, we do things like Qigong, mantra, ritual, so that we can feel and connect to that other world. And we talk about it like it's that other world. The spirit is always on the other side of the veil. And I am now fully convinced that that is not the case. That's only our experience, because we on earth are still coming out of the effects of Kali Yuga, the time of darkness, where the majority of people are blind to spirit. And we're moving into a time where it's flipping now. And spirit is what is going to be the most true experience, and the physical world will merely be the result of the spiritual intent. Consciousness comes first. And now we are understanding, I'm speaking for myself, I am understanding that I live in a universe filled with conscious beings who live every day the things that we hope for. We hope for an experience of spirit. We hope for, people come onto my channel and there's, how many of you come on here hoping that you're going to find some kind of method, some kind of spiritual practice that will give you a feeling of connecting to spiritual consciousness. And we have to, if you're like me, you have to do discipline. You have to do daily spiritual work so that you can at least be connected to that idea and have hope for it, working towards that. And we're now in a position where if we choose to, we can live in that world, that world of spirit. So Saturn has moved into Aquarius, which is again where all of our spiritual hard work pays off. And the Aquarius is about the freedom and equality of the masses. Aquarius is about breaking off the yoke of the elite and having every person in the world have equal access to prosperity, happiness, peace, and freedom. And so as Saturn has moved into this, it has brought this awareness. It has brought in third from Sagittarius. It has brought the truth of the spirit, and it has shared that, and you will have experienced that in some karmic way if you listen for it. And now that it's given that information, then it's going to start going back into Capricorn. It's going to turn retrograde. Saturn is going to turn retrograde, go back into Capricorn. And then what's going to happen is we are going to have to now go back. As we go back into Capricorn with Saturn, we're going to take this knowledge and awareness of, okay, now that we have, this door has opened and we have reached this potential to live in the spirit as opposed to hope for it, work for it. We have an opportunity to live in it now. Now we take that knowledge and we're going to have to go back and we're going to have to clean up the last bit of karmic blocks, which has to do with Saturn in Capricorn has a lot to do with going back and fighting against the tyranny of the elites. And that, on a personal level, is paying your karmic debt. On a personal level, you go back and you look at, how have I been? Like, for instance, let me, I just the past couple of days, I had this very strong feeling about really wanting to be even more authentic, even more truthful, even more authentic in my connection to other people, my communication with other people. And it was really weighing on me. And that is going to be the kind of experience that we can have when Saturn goes back into Capricorn. Once we get the knowledge, for those of you who have come into this and there's been an awareness that you've had of your equality with the universe, your connection with everything, because Aquarius is also connection with everything. And if there has been a karmic awareness of you, that you have a connection to everything, there's also going to be an experience of responsibility. I'm responsible to keep myself pure and authentic so that I can connect with others. I have a responsibility to act with as much truth and integrity as I can so that I can be empowering of others. In terms of what is happening, let's talk again what we talked about yesterday, which was the looking glass, the project Looking Glass. There's actually a project Looking Glass, which is something else, which is in the 60s. It was some military thing, and you don't have to worry about that. This is different. The Looking Glass we're talking about is an actual spiritual technology. It's a technological device that is powered by spirit. And it has been used at least since the time of the Sumerians, who had the ability to, how I don't know, some way put power into this. Nowadays they're probably using electricity and electromagnets and things like that to power this device. I don't know enough about it to know exactly how it works. But however they get power to this device gives the people who use it the ability to see into potential future timelines. and to see, you can ask it, okay, what if we do this? What if we do that? And then you'll see how the timeline will shift. And basically what they're looking for is they're looking for the most powerful way to influence human beings through fear. Through fear and control and anger. What can they create which will respond in a fear reaction in the population that then they can use to control? Because when you are afraid and when you are angry, when you are violent, when you are isolated, that is when you are able to be controlled the most. Because if you are not those things, if you are not isolated, if you are connected to yourself, to others, and to the universe, if you are not angry, but you are full of love and gratitude and joy and peace, if you are not violent, but you are actually seeking to have a peaceful connection, then there is no need for anybody to control you. There is no need for anybody to protect you. There is no need for anybody to provide for you, because you will know that you are connected to spirit. Somebody was sharing with me, it was a long time ago, about some primitive culture. And I believe it was an island culture. It was an island in the Pacific, and jungle and all that kind of stuff. And some Western person, I think it was some religious person. Anyway, some Western person was there talking to the native and said, "Well, where's the food?" And the native said, "It's all around you. It's right there." Showed him a plant. It's right there. Showed him another plant. It's right there. Showed him mussels in the water, it's the fish, it's there's bugs over here, there's grubs here. The food is everywhere. And that's because that person didn't feel isolated. That person was connected to their surroundings. Had a personal, physical, intuitive, energetic connection to everything that was around them. They weren't isolated. They'd be walking alone in the forest, but they wouldn't be alone. They would be surrounded by all of nature and all of consciousness. When you're not isolated, you can't be controlled because you don't need anybody. You don't need anybody to take care of you. You don't need anybody to do anything for you. This is what I'm trying to share with people when they, because one of the main, let's be real. One of the main reasons people seek out spirituality is because they want more stuff. They want more money, they want more love, they want more prosperity, they want more health, and they seek that out through spirituality. That's what The Secret is all about. That's what the law of attraction is all about. And you'll find the people that follow the law of attraction are people who actually don't feel those things. Because people who have that, they don't seek out the law of attraction. They don't seek out, that kind of prosperity, spirituality. They don't seek it out because they have it. So they don't need it. So I spend so much time telling people to drop the fear, drop the victim mentality. Because that mindset, just like that guy who was in that, that tropical island, he couldn't see all of the prosperity and the resources that were around him. He couldn't see it because he just has that Western mindset. So, what was I talking about? So what I believe is going to happen on Saturday, at least this is what I'm going to be intending, is that there's going to be a major shift where the blinders will come off. Because the other thing, if we understand that we live in a community, that the universe isn't this big, empty place where there's just space and rocks and stars, and no matter how educated somebody is, anybody on this planet, unless they've experienced different, believes that we're the only conscious life in the universe. Makes the universe a really empty place. I really believe that's what's behind the flat earth philosophy. People who are flat earthers are so afraid of being left alone and isolated. They need to, make the universe this tiny little place where there's just this one Earth and nothing else. Because the thought of being in this infinite universe is so frightening to them, because that feeling of isolation becomes unbearable. So, I kind of forgot what I was saying. So, what I want to do what I can to lift that veil of isolation, fear, anger, insecurity, victim mentality. And it's very hard to have that if you know that there are infinite numbers of societies out there who want to connect with you and want to share with you their understanding, their mastery of living in a conscious universe that responds to your intent. A society where there is no poverty, where there is no violence, where there is no fear, where there is no starvation, where there is no taxes, where there's none of that garbage. They're people just like, our ancestors are, quote, primitive people. They live in oneness with their environment. They don't own anything. They're part of everything. To know that the entire universe is functioning that way, and there's probably other planets that are also, making their way up through the evolutionary ladder as well. Maybe they're still working through their issues, whatever those might be. But that there's far more societies out there that are far more advanced spiritually, sociologically, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. And they want to help us achieve our own. They're not going to give it to us. So somebody said that last time. So if it was Guy Home, I was a little harsh with him because he said something to the effect of, doesn't that a victim mentality where the aliens are going to come and save us, and that's not it at all. That's not it at all. We are going to do it. We don't need anybody to save us. If there's something that we need, it's the awareness of what already exists. That's all it will take. When the average person wakes up and realizes, oh wait, I'm not doing this thing by myself. There's this whole consciousness in the fabric of everything that is working together with me. And look at all these other people. Look at what they've achieved with that knowledge. That's all that's going to need to happen. That shift, that opening of awareness will shift everything. So Saturn has come into Aquarius and has stopped. He's stopped, and when he stops, he's saying, listen. Listen to what I'm telling you. It's very important. Saturn has stopped and is giving the message of Aquarius. You don't know what the message of Aquarius? Look it up. Equality, freedom, self-responsibility, cooperation with others. No more oppression. Now that you have that knowledge and awareness, that you live in this infinite universe that is a universe of spirit and consciousness, and spirit and consciousness comes first and the physical is afterwards. It's the result of your consciousness. It's not the creator of your consciousness. So let me just stick with that for a second. We live in a society, the way that our science, which doesn't have any connection to consciousness, our science, our medicine, thinks that our body creates our awareness. We think that all of these cells come together inside the mother's womb and it starts coming together, and based on that, that's going to create the brain, and then the brain somehow will be self-aware. We don't know how or why, but so we believe that physical matter creates consciousness, which doesn't make any sense. And you think about it, that doesn't make any sense. How can consciousness not exist except in some weird molecular way. So the molecules come together in a certain way. And then there's this limited consciousness that only lasts, 80 or 90 years. And then when that body dies, the consciousness dies. That doesn't make any sense. There's no energy model in the universe where energy functions that way. It doesn't work like that. If you have water and the water burns up, it goes into the atmosphere as vapor. Its energy can't be lost. It is only transformed. And so the opposite is obviously the truth. It is our consciousness that created our physical body. That's why those of you, again, you believe that this planet is a prison. You believe that karma is a punishment. You think you've been trapped here. That's not how energy works. Your body that you live in was the result of your conscious intention. You manifested and created your body based on your conscious intention. And when your body stops to function, your conscious intention will move into some other manifestation. So, what we're going to have to do when Saturn turns retrograde, assuming that I'm correct, I'm going to be very interested to see what happens. But assuming I'm correct and that there's going to be some awareness that is at least kick-started on Saturday, then what's going to happen is as we go back, Saturn goes back into Capricorn, we are now going to have to work to finish and complete the awareness that has been given to us, the message that has been given to us. And then that'll mean going back. As Saturn goes back into Capricorn, it's going to take all of that karmic knowledge and those who have been working to suppress our awareness, those who have been looking to enslave us, will be held accountable. I don't know what that's going to mean, how that's going to play itself out, but it will. I was talking about, I'm sorry I'm so disjointed. You know me, this is how I function. I was talking about Project Looking Glass. So there is a technology where we can look into the future. And not we, whoever has it, can look into the future and predict what timeline is going to occur based on certain events. And so that's how the elite has come up with all of the worldwide events that have happened, this recent plague we've been through, wars, everything. All the stuff that's happened, assassinations, all these things. These are things that have been planned out because somebody's been looking to see if we do this, then that will happen and that will give us the most power. And as these elites have been using this machine for thousands of years, apparently, they got to the year 2012. And after 2012, there was some shift in the timelines where they could no longer manipulate new timelines where they had the power over human beings. And at some point after 2012, basically the screen goes blank. And the only thing that you find, no matter what timeline they tried to manipulate, is that there is this massive, huge shift in evolution, and there's this experience of knowledge and awareness and spirituality, and the elites no longer had any control. So these last decades, especially this last 2 years, has been a desperate overreach. I mean, it has been. That's the main reason that I had my awakening in September was because the people in power have been overreaching to such an extent, even I went, wait a second, they're right. all those conspiracy nuts are right. There is a small group of very powerful people who are running the world. They control the media, they control the government, they control military, they control everything. They own the banks, and they will destroy anybody that gets in the way of their complete, total control. And they're obviously working overtime for some big, huge last gasp of, trying to conquer the entire world. If they hadn't overreached, I wouldn't have noticed it. So they obviously are desperate. They're overreaching because they know their time is short. And they're hoping against hope that they can find that one event that they can create, which will be the thing that gives them total and final control. And that will be a fake alien invasion if they have their way. But we can thwart that. We can stop that if we, human beings, change our perception. You are not a victim. You are not isolated. You are not a result of physical things on you. You are a being of infinite consciousness that has the ability to create reality through your spirit, not your intellect, not your fear, not your anger, not your violence, not your narcissism, but your spirit. It was something I wanted to share. As the project Looking Glass thing, which I've found very interesting until recently, I've come to the conclusion based on my research that piece of equipment actually exists. A device that allows people to see into timelines and know, potentially what they can do to shift the timelines in their favor. And that whole idea that the device says, sorry, that file not found. No matter what you do, it's going to end up with this massive event that cannot be prevented, which will result in a huge spiritual shift in the consciousness of all people of Earth, and it's unavoidable, and you will lose all power. I found that to be very interesting, and then I was listening to somebody's near-death experience. And again, I never take anybody's word, just because they say it, but because what this person was saying was identical to what this whistleblower was saying. I took note of it. So this person, I don't know how they died, but they died. And when they left their body, they had, a similar experience to many people, where they went and they were presented with some very high being. You either see it as God or Jesus or Shiva or, light or something. And this person went to what he thought was God. Didn't say it was God, but that was his experience. I'm with God now. And he had this feeling that he could ask anything he wanted to know. And so he asked, are there other worlds? I may be conflating two different stories, but they're both great and they both work together. So he says, are there other worlds? And God says, yes. And he says, I'd like to go visit a more advanced civilization. So God says, okay. And then immediately he's on this planet with these other beings, and these beings are so advanced they can see him. And they see his soul and they go, whoa, who are you? And he says, I'm from Earth, and I just recently died, and I wanted to see what your world was like. And they said, what is Earth? And he tried to show them. He said, let me imagine. And he imagined where Earth was. And they went, oh, we've never been there before. And then they start asking him, so what's it like for your species? How do you eat? He says, well, we eat plants and we eat animals. And they go, oh, we don't eat animals. We would never do that. That you're a very primitive race. When he asks, well, how do you eat? He says, we get our energy directly from the sun. That's where we get our nourishment from. And so he enjoyed that. He enjoyed that they were able to see him as a spirit, that they had their vibration was so high that even though they had a physical body, they could see him. And that it was interesting to him that they didn't know that Earth exists, but now they did. And they said, wow, we're going to go check that place out. And then he goes back, and he's back in front of God, and he says, I want to see a planet that has people that are less advanced than us. God says, okay. And he ends up at some other planet where there are cavemen type beings, and they're out there chasing, their equivalent of woolly mammoths. And he was trying to get their attention, but they couldn't see him. They couldn't see or sense him. They were just wrapped up in their lower vibration of, chasing after animals, wanting to hunt animals and kill and eat. And then he saw a vision of the future. And I may be conflating two different near-death experiences, but I don't care. Whether this is a different one or not, I don't know. But same kind of idea. Somebody was asking, I want to be able to see into the future. And what he saw was in the very near future, like within his lifetime, if he went back to live, that things would be absolutely, completely different. That there would be this sudden shift, and there's peace and awareness, and that technology goes through the roof. And people are, living in this completely different futuristic world that is totally beyond anything that he's ever seen in any science fiction movie. And and again, he repeated, and things are just really, really different. I can't even describe it. Things are just totally different, and there's no more war or poverty and things like that. And so from different sources, this same message is coming, that sometime in the near future, there's such a massive shift. When I remember hearing it and wondering what could possibly do that. We are so entrenched in the way our politics go, the governments, all of this stuff that's going on. How could there possibly be a shift? What could possibly dislodge the elite from the control that they have over us? They have control over the narrative of the world. They have their thumb on the pulse of the unconscious collective of the world, and only really seriously motivated people break out of that narrative, and most people don't. So I'm thinking to myself, what could possibly do that? And it wasn't until I became aware of this understanding, this overwhelming truth, that we are not alone in this universe. There are infinite numbers of civilizations out there that are highly advanced, and the basis of their advanced civilization is a spiritual understanding. And in fact, they will say our technology works on connection to spirit. We would say, a Dr. Manhattan kind of scenario. We would say, we have to practice Qigong, because then without it, we won't be able to, use our flying cars. Because we have to be able to tap into energy, to have the energy work with the technology for us to have, levitate and fly in the air like George Jetson. And that would do it. But I am also aware, again, I had a dream night before last that was, it was a very challenging feeling. The feeling I had was that the best way I can describe it the best way I can describe it is that reality was like a mold. And the mold was breaking apart by force. And what was breaking it apart was there was this, like, it wasn't like clay. It was, it was more like some kind of plasticine, really like durable something like clay. And it was going into the mold of our reality, and it was starting to break it apart. And it was very uncomfortable because it was feeling like my world was being pushed apart from the inside. Slow pressure that was filling this sphere of my awareness, and it was breaking apart and coming apart and expanding. And it was very challenging to my psyche. And physically, I was in pain when I woke up. My body was in pain from the unconscious resistance and the stress of it all. And at the same time, I knew that that's what needed to happen. And I had the feeling that it was coming very soon. And it may be as soon as this Saturday. May not be. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not attached. But I also know that we can make the shift happen if we choose. And so I recommend everybody to go look up CE5 protocols, because on Saturday between 9 p.m. and midnight in your time zone, wherever you live in the world, it doesn't matter, from 9 p.m. to midnight, there has been a call from the people who do this to do the meditations either by yourself or preferably in a group of people. Come together and do a meditation where you reach out in love and in friendship, and you tell whoever's out there exactly where you are on planet Earth and say, come, and we welcome you. Come to our group, come to our home, come to wherever. We would like to meet you. We would like to be members of the galactic universe. We don't want to be isolated anymore. We want to be part of this universal spiritual connection that holds all consciousness together, and we invite you. And obviously, if everybody in the world, can you imagine if everybody in the world did that? Can you imagine what would happen? I mean, nothing would ever be the same. So maybe that's what's going to happen. If not, I think there's going to be some shift that's going to happen on Saturday. Maybe it'll be big. Maybe it won't be that big, but I feel pretty confident that some switch is going to get flipped on. And we're going to start moving closer and closer towards the inevitable nexus point where we either evolve or we don't. All right. So having said that, I'm happy to take questions. As you know, this is a question and answer. If you have a question, write the word question in all caps and then ask your question. Or share a feeling. And I will be happy to look at those, and we'll see how behaved I can be dealing with people. All right, so Casey Jones, you've been on my channel for a while. We'll get to that later. First, let's talk about Thundra. Thundra, she is one of my apprentice astrologers, and you can go to her website, thundra.thunderwizard.com, thundra.thunderwizard.com. Okay, let's see. Looking for the questions and the feelings. Hi, Tamu. Tamu says hello. Hi. Zeralath, honest feeling. My exercise routine has really excited me in harnessing my Saturn energies. I feel a lot more capable of handling the future. That sounds awesome. Oh, that's interesting. Tamu Ngina says, my mother worked for J. Allen Hynek. That was the guy who headed up the Project Blue Book and then broke away from that. And yeah, he was interesting, Dr. Hynek. foremost UFO expert in the 70s at Northwestern or Chicago. They classified contact. So, Casey Jones, you've been on my channel for a while, right? So you know how my channel works, right? You ask a question or you share a feeling. Otherwise, you are just putting static on my computer screen that I have to scroll through. That's true for all of you. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. If you don't ask a question, I'm just going to scroll through your comment. Sorry, I know that's not how most chats go, but that's the way I like to do things. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says, hello, Mahadeva. Now, I'm responding to him because he is also one of my apprentice astrologers, and you can go to his website, vincent.thunderwizard.com. He has a bunch of other stuff that he offers as well. Go check him out. Agent of the Universe question, should I clean my room before June 4th? I don't know. What does that have to do with anything? I can't tell if that's a serious question or not. I don't think that has anything to do with it. But I understand the question. You know, it's actually, your question is an interesting one because it is symbolic. And I have been finding that I've been really wanting to clean up my insides, clean up my thoughts. I've been more vigilant when I catch myself being judgmental, when I catch myself being self-directed with my negativity, you know, feeling, you know, less than or sorry for myself or angry or, you know, any of those things that, you know, don't help me. You know, I haven't talked about it much. I haven't taken any videos and shown it to you, but I've moved into a new place here, and I'm in a different, a slightly different, just a little bit farther north in Florida where I was when I first got here. And it's amazing here. It's you know, this part of Florida is what Florida was supposed to be. And there's you know, empty beaches, and there is crazy jungle. You know, there's just these big, you know, thankfully there's these big parks where they haven't developed, and there's just, I mean, if I showed it to you and I said that's the Congo, you'd believe me. If I said that's the Amazon, you'd believe me. If I said this is the rainforest of South America, you'd believe me. It's crazy and really wonderful and all that. And so, you know, I find myself getting into my stuff and I go, just look at where you are. Just look outside your window where you are. And I have a really great house that I'm in, and I've got, there's a really great, the guy who owns the house has been a really great landlord with me so far. So I've got nothing to be upset about. But I've been finding, like you're saying here, I'm wanting to clean my room, wanting to clean my insides. I want to make sure that I know, you know, that I'm operating from my highest self, that I'm getting the most out of my life and at any given moment, and that I'm aware of the choices that I have about how I think and how I indulge in my thinking. You know, as I say, you have to have all of your feelings. And at the same time, we can choose, you know, how we want to direct our attitudes. So we can do both at the same time. So, to answer your question, Agent of the Universe, I don't know that you need to clean your physical room, but it's helpful to be focusing on what I teach, the parts of, you know, focusing on abundance, focusing on that you live in a universe that loves you, focusing on your infinity within you, operating from integrity, trying to be authentic to your soul. You know, that kind of cleaning your room, I think, is good. Cleaning your physical room may not be as important, unless you use it as a spiritual tool. If cleaning your room is a ritual that you use to clean up your insides, then by all means. All right, so Again, Daniel Cardenas, same thing. You're not new to my channel. You know how this works. Question and answer only, please. Otherwise, I have to scroll through, and I have to scroll through a bunch of Casey Jones, who's not asking questions. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Honest feeling. I feel limited and restricted. I thank you for your bravery. I understand that feeling. I've been working my ass off to get everything I want. Not getting it yet makes me feel angry and frustrated. I guess it's time to work even harder. Maybe it's time to work harder. Maybe it's time to allow and enjoy the progression you have made. You know, if somebody is 145 pounds and wants to become Mr. Universe, and they start going to the gym and working out really hard, and a month later they go and get on the scale and they're only 152 pounds, you know, then they're like, oh my gosh, nothing's ever working. Well, you've gained 7 pounds of muscle in this case, in this example. And Vincent, you have worked your ass off. I've been there with you while you've done a lot of that, and I know what you've accomplished. You maybe don't see it, but you've accomplished a hell of a lot. And you have to, you know, to get to 20 steps, you have to take, you know, 2, 3, 4 steps to get there. So give yourself a break. At the same time, it's okay with me that you're impatient. I know that feeling. I want everything, and I want the best, and I want it now. And so I understand that. So I appreciate your feeling, and I appreciate your honesty with that. And I just want to encourage you to keep going, and know, you know, while you're going, take note of what progress you have, as little as it may feel. Progress is progress. Spectrum of life, honest feeling. I'm at the verge of being lost and hopeless as the current affairs around the world is imploding, but I'm fearlessly focusing on my soul desire. Good for you. That sounds like a great strategy, and I understand your feelings. Jedi Black Knight, question, do you plan to use any particular Neigong method for CE5? Yeah. I am going to do the Mao Shan. I'm going to do the Spirit Fighter. And that for me is the most powerful energy practice that I have. So I'm going to do that. And I have a meditation that I'm going to do, which connects me directly to the universe. It's a Mao Shan meditation that connects all of the 3 ones in my body to the 3 ones in the universe, and I become the universe. It's one of the most powerful, really wonderful meditations that we have. I think I've taught it in a couple of forms. I think I put it in one of my books. I probably got it on one of the, at least one of the videos somewhere in my ever-growing video library. Don't ask me for the link because I don't know what it is. If somebody knows the link, feel free to give it. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to do the CE5 protocol that they recommend, which is to see yourself where you are and then sort of lift out into space. And, imagine seeing, what state you're in and what it looks like from space, and then look out into space. Just basically take yourself on a journey out into, beyond our galaxy, and then send out information. Anybody out there, any extraterrestrials flying around, hi, I would love to meet you. Follow me, and then you come back to wherever you are, and I guess you just keep doing that over and over until you feel a connection. And I'm going to have I just got my little pocket ham radio showed up today, so I'm going to have that with me. And if you get the CE5 Contact app, I recommend it because there are tones in there. And I'm going to play those tones on my phone, and I'm going to broadcast them out through my little ham radio, just to let who's ever out there know where I am. And then I don't know what's going to happen after that. Apparently, it could be a craft appears in the sky. It could be they physically appear in front of you. It could just be that you have an experience. It could be you have a meditative experience. It could be nothing. So I don't have any agenda or any expectation. I'm gonna enjoy the meditative experience, and at the very least, I will have connected with the universe in a loving way. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's what I'm going to do. Since you asked, what am I going to do? What else? Joe Gabbana, welcome to the channel. Please write the word question. If you have a question, I'd appreciate that. What specific kind of energy change? I've just been talking about it for over an hour. So if you need to, go back to the beginning and watch the video. I pretty much laid out exactly what I think the specific change is going to be. James Moffat, honest feeling. I feel happy that I am getting to actually see this happen for more and more people. Amazing time to witness. I agree. Agent of the Universe. Question. Should I encourage myself to use the yin-yang hands for longer duration in preparation? That's a kind of a strange question. I mean, there are two questions in there. One of them is, should you use the yin-yang hands longer? And the other one is, should I encourage myself to use the yin-yang hands? So listen, Agent of the Universe, I mean, this sounds like a question you need to figure out for yourself. I don't have an agenda on how long you do any of the practices. In case you're new to the channel, what he's talking about is a practice that I teach here in the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. So go to thunderwizard.com, click around until you see Warrior 90-Day Challenge. Subscribe to that. Now is a good time because the month just started and your subscription renews at the beginning of the month. So now's a good time to start. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. And, what have you lost? The yin-yang hands is the basis of the most powerful energy system in the history of human beings, in my opinion and my experience. And so I'm not going to spend time talking about it. You can go and look at that. If you're new to my channel, please go onto my channel page, the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel page, and look for the Qigong exercises on my playlists. Start doing them. You can also, the yin-yang hands is embedded in the Awakening the Immortals. So thank you for asking me that question, Jedi Black Knight, because in case anybody is new to the channel and you want to know what type of meditative practice can I do to get me into that state so that my meditations will reach out into space, do go onto my channel and look for Awakening the Immortals Qigong. That is an incredibly powerful practice that under normal circumstances is not something that I would teach publicly. It would be something that you had to have been initiated in, and you would have to have been my student for a long time. That's how powerful it is. But I had this feeling, a year or so ago that people needed it. And now I know why. So I make it available to you for free. You don't have to take any of my other courses or subscribe. And so, those of you who, for whatever reason, don't want to support the channel financially, you've got the free thing. You can go do it. That's as high, that's not the highest, most powerful practice that I teach, but it is among the highest, most powerful practices. So you can do that. I recommend if somebody wants to know what should I do to get myself prepared for this, you can do the Awakening the Immortals Qigong and then follow it with the CE5 protocols. In case you know what I mean, CE, the letters CE, the number 5 protocols. You can also get the CE5, CE5 app on your phone. Go check that out and follow those. I was going to say, I really like the app because it has those tones in it that that people have gotten as a result of their interaction with extraterrestrial civilizations, and they, apparently each civilization has their own way of communicating and identifying themselves. And so they're all aware of all the different, codes. And if they hear that, like if I've got my little ham radio and I'm broadcasting that through my phone, they'll know, oh, there's a human down there and he wants to talk to us. Even though that's not our code, it's understood they're looking for somebody to come down and communicate with. So they'll come down, they'll follow that. And that's what I've heard, and so far I don't have any reason to disbelieve. I was watching one guy using that same kind of thing. He's got his ham radio and he's got his phone and he's playing the codes and he's broadcasting it through his phone, and then he waits around and sure enough, ET craft shows up. What else? Brandon Little, you know how this works, man. Question. So the whole point is that I see your question, right? So if you don't put the effort to write it in all caps, I might go past it. You realize that that's for your benefit. It annoys me when people don't put the effort into that. Just put a little bit of effort. I like it because it shows me that you're committed to your own empowerment. So next time, question in all caps. Why? For your benefit, so that I'll see it. You say, when trying to connect with ETs, would you recommend protection? Why? I understand the question. I'm just responding. I'm responding with that question so you think about it. One thing that you need to understand, everything that you have heard about extraterrestrials that's negative is a lie. Everything that you've heard about extraterrestrials being evil, and especially everything that you've heard about ET abductions is a lie. Now, abductions are a real thing, but they're not done by extraterrestrials. They're done by deep state military black ops. And bear in mind that our deep black op military has had reverse engineered alien technology for 70 years. And in 1966, the first reported alien abduction was Barney and Betty Hill. I talked about this yesterday. And if you look at that, you'll see that it's got half of it is very powerful technology, and the other half is a bunch of humans experimenting on other humans. In fact, a lot of the medicines that show up, a lot of the medical procedures that show up will have been first experimented on with these black op fake alien abductions. They abduct human beings, they experiment on them, and then from that they develop medical things, and then the things that they don't have any military use for, they give to the public. So Brandon, if you are afraid, it won't work. It's okay with me if you are afraid. But if you're afraid and you want to do this CE5 protocol, then you can say, I'm afraid. And that's normal. I mean, I might have that experience myself. The more that I'm researching it, the less fear I'm having about it. In fact, at the moment, I don't have any fear about it. But if I do, I'll say, listen, this is different. I'm afraid. Just be aware of that, and ask for help with that. So there's no need. It's like, would you wear a talisman to communicate with a deity? Would you use a talisman to communicate with a celestial, because that's the kind of energy that you're dealing with here. So no, I mean, you can wear a talisman, but not as a protection, but as power that'll help you connect, because that's what you're connecting to. You're connecting to higher beings. And if it makes you feel better, when you're doing it, you can say that you invite all friendly beings of light. You know, that cleans it up. In fact, if you can do it and you want to, you can say, help me get over my fear. Bear in mind what I'm always teaching. I'm always telling people. You got to drop the fear. Always. The universe is a safe place. The universe loves us. And if you have that as your base assumption about the universe will constantly and always support you. If you operate from fear, you're going to deviate from your soul, and then you will manifest your own destruction from your fear. So the only thing, as said, the only thing that you need to worry about is your own fear. Doesn't mean that bad things don't happen, but they don't happen from higher spiritually developed beings. And if your intent is to connect with higher spiritually developed beings, there's nothing that you need to protect yourself from. Does that make sense? It's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. Matthias something or other. Honest feeling. Feel like I'm just... What happened here? I feel like I'm just a narcissist, but then I wonder if it's a result of my seclusion and overall distrust of most who I've come across in life. I've never resonated with anyone like my physical reality. So, Matthias, you may be a narcissist, and so what? Everybody's got something. It does sound to me like you need some help. Let me be clear. I've never done this thing alone. People who are their own teacher usually don't get very far. So you need to have some connection. It needs to be a group of people that you connect with, or a teacher that you connect with, or something. You can't do this thing alone. And I'm saying that because you sound like somebody who's doing it alone. And that is narcissistic. It's okay. But the fear you have of others, your inability to connect, your distrust of others, while I understand it, doesn't serve you. So I recommend that you reach out, get out of your seclusion, connect with people. If you don't know how to do that, there are people out there that can help you. Life coaches, therapists, counselors. They're there for a reason and they work. I would recommend that you do whatever that is for you. Find a group of people, whatever. But, that way you can work through that. And it's okay. If you're a narcissist, you're a narcissist. You can work through that also. Brandon Little, again, honest feeling in all caps. Please put some effort. I know you can do it. Thankful for your years of helping people like myself conquer victim mentality prior to your awakening. You're welcome. I'm glad. I am grateful that for everybody here that comes on, and I hope that everybody, I hope that even with my directness and my harshness, I am able to be helpful, and so I appreciate the sentiment. DC Pagan question: is this CE5 ritual repeated on a periodic basis, or is it a one-time thing this Saturday evening? So I welcome you to research it. There's a movie, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. You can watch it for free on YouTube. You can watch it for free on Amazon. And Dr. Stephen Greer has a bunch of really good movies out there. He's been very prolific over the past few years. I recommend watching all of them. He's also got a series on Gaia, which I never watched that because it's so new agey, but I wanted to see this whole series, and he goes into real depth about some really cool stuff. So you can go check that out. So I don't know why you're asking me. This is going to be my first time doing it. I don't see why. I mean, if you want to do it on I don't see any reason why not to do it on a ritual repeated basis. But I also don't see that it has to be that way. My hope is, maybe you're asking this question because you have the same feeling as I do. I'm looking for deeper instruction. I'm looking for a connection with somebody who has something that I want, because I want to learn. I want to learn about this idea of interacting more deeply with my consciousness, with the universe. So I'm hoping for that. But that's a secondary thing. My first thing is the awareness is enough. The awareness and the experience that gives you a greater awareness that we're in a much bigger universe than we thought. That's enough for me. But I don't know. Maybe you could treat it like that. Maybe you could make a weekly thing to have to learn and grow. I guess everybody has whatever reason they want. I can't speak for extraterrestrials, so I don't know what their motivation is, other than obviously they want to help the universe evolve. Other than that, I don't know what their agendas are. I mean, so that's something else I would want to find out. Anyway, maybe we'll see what happens. Spectrum of Life question: do you believe these extraterrestrial friends would inspire a global revolution to take down these global elites? Do I believe that? Again, I can't speak for them. But if you're talking about violence, it's quite obvious they have no interest in violence. Bear in mind that the human culture as it stands is an existential threat to the rest of the universe. The things that we have done, the nuclear bombs that we've exploded a lot. There wasn't just the 2 that were dropped on Japan. There was all kinds of tests, and there's been all kinds of nuclear tests done underground. Every single time that we detonate a nuclear weapon, we blow holes into the multiverse. Because we're splitting the atom, and so we're messing with the quantum field. So we are a threat to them. Just our existence is a threat. And, if this was on the earth and there was a country that was doing something that was causing, earthquakes and famines, we would go and take them out. The U.S. would put in planes and ships, and we would go and we would militarily just wipe them out if they were a threat to us. So they're not doing that, and they could in a heartbeat. They could wipe us. They could vaporize our planet, and they obviously haven't. Not only have they not done that, they haven't showed up on the White House lawn with a sign saying, "Knock it off or we're going to blow you up. You're messing with my backyard. You are blowing holes in my home on my home planet. Knock it off." They haven't done any of that. They're not even, they're in fact, the real extraterrestrials, not the fake ones that are actual robots. Actually, I saw something today on YouTube. Boston Dynamic. There's a video. You see one of their robots, and it's unbelievable what they can do with robotics now. Bear in mind, if you're seeing it on YouTube, this is technology that's decades old. It only gets introduced into the public after the deep state has something far beyond that. So they could easily, anyway, and I'm of the opinion that the grays that you hear of that do the abductions, those are actual robots created by deep state. So anyway, bottom line is, the real extraterrestrials are far more advanced and nuanced in their ability to interact, but if they even sense the slightest bit of fear in you, they back off. They clearly have an understanding that the last thing they want to do is frighten you. They don't want that. That is not going to help you evolve. Human beings were primates. So it'd be like, going out into the Congo trying to, establish contact, peaceful contact with a primate, with a chimpanzee group. The last thing you want to do is go in there making a bunch of noise and scaring all the chimps off into the trees. They're not going to, if you want to have connection with them, you have to go in and let them see you and be comfortable with you. That's what they're doing with us. Because we're primates. We're chimps. And we're very easily frightened about things we don't understand. And we react violently. So they obviously have an understanding that the last thing they want to do is frighten us. Because we'll continue to do stupid things and it will work against our own awareness. And they clearly have respect for our boundaries. This is our planet. They're not coming in here and announcing themselves, hey, we're here. Okay, listen, you humans, you got to get your shit together. They're not doing that. And they could. They could knock down our whole grid. They could knock down all of our power, all of our communications. And I wouldn't blame them. I wouldn't blame them if they came in, knocked everything out, knocked out all of our electronics and, all of our weapon systems and then said, okay, listen, guys, and took over all of our television screens and says, hello, look, we're from, planet so-and-so on the other side of the galaxy. And we just want to let you know that we're not going to let you guys keep doing what you're doing. They're not doing any of that. So the idea that they would inspire a global revolution, if you're talking about violence, I don't think that that's their intention at all. And I don't think that's how things are going to change, because more violence only creates violence. Name one revolution that has created a sustainably peaceful society. Name one. I can't think of one. The United States, we take pride and we have this revolution, but let's not kid ourselves. We came here from, I'm directly descended from the very first people. In fact, my last name, Denny, is the guy who founded Seattle. His last name was Denny. He was one of my relatives. Daniel Boone was one of my relatives. Clark, my mother's name was Clark, Lewis and Clark. I mean, you can't get any more American than me. And it's very clear that we came here with the intention of using this land for, for Europe to, take all of the resources, the gold, the fur, the whatever else, so the United States Revolution was just a bunch of, elite, controlling, white, male landowners who didn't want to have to pay exorbitant taxes to a king on the other side of the Atlantic. And so they rebelled. And we make it sound like there was this big freedom that we were creating, we call it the Great Experiment. I mean, it wasn't about freedom, it was about money. It was about money and control. We were, at the same time, we were wiping out Native Americans. We were, enslaving people from Africa. And at the same time, we're fighting for our freedom. I mean, come on. We're so full of shit. So, the way, I'm just pointing out to you the way that you're talking about this revolution. And again, explain to me one revolution that wasn't based, violent revolution that wasn't based or didn't result in some kind of, violent state of being. What did we, what is the United States, what has the United States been doing? Ever since World War II, we've been going out starting wars. We go and we say we're going to bring democracy, the same way that, the Roman Catholic Church is going to bring Christianity. In other words, they're going to shove it down your throat or kill you in the process. Look at all the wars that we've started trying to bring liberation to others. When has that ever resulted in that nation, Vietnam, right? Pick one. Vietnam, Iraq. We could go on and on and on. So, spectrum of life, this revolution is an internal revolution. The revolution will be when each person realizes for themselves the freedom that they already have, and that their power of consciousness to create their own life. And this is what I think is so great about the CE5 protocols. It's about not us, bringing the ETs where they say, take me to your leader. They never say that. They don't say, take me to your leader. It's not about that. It's about you. The only thing that they seem to have any interest in is people having their own revolution within themselves. And when that happens, then the whole world is going to shift on its own. There's going to be no need for what you're talking about. Some kind of revolution where we go and we picket or we storm the Capitol. None of that stuff ever works. Not really. So no, I can't speak for them. I don't think that's their motivation. We'll find out. I don't think that's their motivation. Anyway, I hope that answered your question. I understand the sentiment of what you're saying now, and I appreciate the sentiment, and I agree with the basis of your sentiment for your question. DC Pagan question: would you encourage any particular Qigong practice? That was already asked earlier by Jedi Black Knight, and I answered his question. So if you need to, rewind the video where I answer that question. You may have put that on here before I answered it. Let's see, what else? Daniel Borgerson question: have you previously done CE5? So if you've been listening, I've already said no, I haven't done CE5 yet. I've dabbled in it a little bit, and I've had, well, I guess I can share. There's no reason why I can't share it. This was when I was in my other house, and I didn't want to do it fully until I got to this place, because I'm just much more comfortable here. The house I was in for a month, it was, it was cool. It was near the beach, but it was in this kind of loud neighborhood, and I didn't feel really comfortable doing anything there. So I wanted to wait till I came here. But I did do a couple of things where, one of the things I did, which I caught myself doing, which I hate when students do to me. I teach what I teach. I give instructions. I'll give a video on how to do a meditation. And I have to tell you, there are some people, I really like you, but some people, you annoy the crap out of me because you'll say, instead of doing it the way you instructed, can I do it this way? And my response is, you can do whatever the hell you want, but the instruction is the instruction, and you can either follow instructions or not. It's completely up to you. I'm giving you the instructions because that's the way that you're most likely to have the best results. And it's good to be a student and just follow instructions and don't overthink it, because it's a way of trying to control things. So, having said that, I'm confessing to you that I did that. I learned the CE5 protocols, and I said, okay, I want to do things my way. And so what I did was, I said, I'm going to take a nap I don't want to do this thing at night. I don't want, this. I was also afraid. I was still going off of old programmings. I said, this is how I want to do things. I'm going to take a nap, and as I'm falling asleep, I'm going to ask questions, and I want you to, So I was telling them what I want them to do. I have no idea if they heard me or not. But what was very interesting was, I can't remember what the question was. I think my question was, what can I do? How can I get you to teach me? I think it was something like that. So as I'm going to sleep, I'm doing the thing where I'm letting them know where I am and all that, and but I'm wanting them to jump inside my head and talk to me. And as I'm falling asleep, by the way, in case you don't know, this is a technique that I've used for years. So that state of being as you're falling asleep, but it's even better as you're waking up. When you're waking up in the morning and you're not awake yet, and you kind of can fall back and go back to sleep and go in a dream, or or sit there in that state, just before you fall back into a dream, you're in a shamanic state of awareness. And I've used that numerous times. If you've read my book, Odin Says Jesus Was a Coward. That's where I had my major interaction with Odin, who spoke to me and downloaded that book into me. It was during one of those things. I was waking up and I was thinking about things, and I was meditating, and I asked Odin a question. And every time I do this, I don't expect an answer. And sometimes I get answers, and most of the time I don't. But when I do, they're huge. If I'm able to get, connect with whomever. So I did that. And as I was falling asleep, you don't realize it. This is one of the great things. Like, if you're falling asleep, what you don't realize is that all these images are, you see them in front of you, but you don't pay any attention to them because you're falling asleep. But you'll see all of these images, faces and things that don't make any sense, but you're not attached to it. You're falling asleep, and you don't even, if you don't wake up in the middle of that, you won't even remember that occurs. So that was happening. I was falling asleep, and all these weird, morphing images. And then I saw this. It looked like a snapshot that came out of a magazine. It even was square, like it came out of a magazine. And it was it looked like a picture for an advertisement for a specific kind of portable ham radio. And it was so specific. It was like I could see the exact colors and the exact shape, but it didn't last for long. It was just like a flash, and then it was gone. And then I woke up, and I went, okay, I'm going to remember that. And I worked really hard to remember that, and I did. And I ended up finding it online, and I'm going to get it. I can't get it in time for this Friday because it's interestingly, that particular model, which I found the exact, well, at least it looks like the exact model. That's a model that's like 4 or 5 years old and is illegal now, so they don't make it anymore. So I have to get it from somewhere else, and it'll take a while to get here. So I found it, and I'm going to get it. And then the other one, the second time I did it, I had seen this video. I'll show this to you. I don't know if I've shown this to you, or I've shown it. But if you haven't seen it, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Take a look at this. Do you see that at the top of the screen? Just look, it'll look at that. There are 2 ships flying over the moon. Watch, one of them is going to go over, following the curvature of the moon, is going to go to the other side of the moon. Do you have any idea how big those ships must be? That is crazy. Now, I don't know if that's real or not. Based on looking at it, I don't know how somebody could fake that, but People can fake all kinds of stuff these days. But when I looked at that, and I've talked to other people who have actually said that they've seen that, or they know people who've seen that looking through telescopes. They've seen these ships over the moon. That's totally crazy, either because that means that there are extraterrestrial star cruisers around the moon, which, if that doesn't blow your mind and make your whole world fall apart, I don't know what will. But the worst part of it is that I don't think it's extraterrestrial. I think that's human. And I think our deep state black ops has these, because they've already said they have the equivalent of Star Trek, Star Wars, and beyond types of craft, anti-gravitational craft that they're using now, and all of the reports that you hear about ETs chasing Navy ships, those are man-made. Those aren't extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials don't need to do that. Those ships, I think, are human-made. Anyway, after seeing that, I then took a nap in the afternoon, and as I was taking a nap and falling asleep, I was just asking the question over and over again: what is happening on the moon? What is happening on the moon? What is happening on the moon? And as I was falling asleep, again, this very clear looked like a snapshot, or like a very short video clip. It was really, but very specific. And again, it was just a flash, and it was gone. And what I saw was a giant refinery. And in case you don't know it, I found online, I just simply looked for it online, and I found that the Washington Post in 2020 put, I don't know why they would do this, they put an article, and Washington Post is a mouthpiece for the deep state, in case you didn't know. But they had an article saying that NASA was openly asking for contractors who wanted to mine on the moon. And that doesn't make any sense, because according to NASA, we haven't sent any manned missions to the moon since the 70s. And they haven't made any announcement that, hey, we're going to go to the moon and start mining. But in 2020, the Washington Post is out there advertising to different contractors that they're looking for contractors to go mine on the moon. So I don't know what it is. There's some mineral or something that the moon is really rich in that we aren't here on the Earth, that has something to do with rocket fuel or something like that. So, I mean, that's been known. So I think, assuming that experience was true, that we already have astronauts, astronaut workforce on the moon, mining there. So yeah, I want to know my experience. That's the little experience I had. And then I realized, as I said, that I was trying to impose on them how I wanted this to happen. And that part of it was coming from my own fear. I stopped and I said, okay, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to follow the instructions. Because according to Dr. Greer, the CE5 protocols are the protocols that he, in cooperation with them, they got together and said, how can we best have human beings contact us? And so they came up with this protocol. So, if I haven't done it and I'm looking to somebody else for their expertise, I should be a good student. So I am. I'm going to follow the instructions instead of trying to, force it my way. Anyway, I'm not upset with myself, and I don't blame myself, because there's nothing wrong with experimenting. And we'll see if I continue to have that kind of experience where they're able to flash in my mind these like snapshots of things. Maybe Maybe that's one of a way that they can communicate. I honestly don't know. So you ask, have you previously done CE5? If so, care to share? Follow-up. Are you aware of the Galactic Federation of Light? If so, your thoughts. So Daniel Borgerson, just to let you know, I don't like those kinds of questions. Have you heard of? What are your thoughts? Nothing personal. Don't take this personally, but that's a very lazy way to ask a question. What are your thoughts on? I don't like that. Am I aware of the Galactic Federation? I'm aware that there are people who talk about this so-called Galactic Federation, and I'm not convinced that that isn't a bunch of New Age nonsense. So just because a bunch of self-styled channelers say that there's this Galactic Federation, I just find it very narcissistic, and it's amazing because then you'll have people who are channelers of them, and I'm going to follow people who can bring some actual credible, verifiable evidence to what they say. I keep repeating the name Stephen Greer because he has that. He's got verifiable evidence, and there's no dispute that he has been, working with ex-government officials and with government, and been briefing the government, and that the CIA and the FBI and all that are very interested in what he's doing, and everybody seems to respect what he's doing. So, and not only that, but my own personal experience, I can tell when somebody's authentic and they're talking from experience. So that's why I reference him. But the vast majority of people who talk about this Galactic Federation of Light sound like a bunch of, psychic bookshop, New Age wannabes. I'm happy if I'm wrong about that. But you're asking my thoughts? Now that's the other reason why I don't like these kinds of questions. Because now I've just spent time bad-mouthing other people. And I don't like that. So that's why I normally say, don't ask me about other people. Don't ask me about other teachers. Don't ask me about other things. If you want to know information about the Galactic Federation of Light, talk about people who do that. Whenever you have to ask me a question that says, have you heard of? It means, number one, that you haven't spent enough time on my channel to know what I teach. Because anybody who's been on my channel knows that there has never been any time that I've ever once, until now, mentioned the Galactic Federation of Light. So it shows laziness on your part, nothing personal, but it's disrespectful to me. You haven't even spent enough time on my channel to know what I teach. That's okay. Most people, the kind of question you ask is not uncommon. I just find it to be a lazy way of asking questions. And then the one, my least favorite is, what are your thoughts on? I don't like that. Because again, you haven't spent time on my channel to know what I teach. You wouldn't have to ask me that on somebody else's thing. So in the future, now you know what not to do. Having said that, I did answer your question. All right, looking for the questions here again. Patrick.thunderwizard.com. So whenever you see somebody, if I say that they've got their name .thunderwizard.com, it means that they have passed my my apprenticeship course in something. So if you want to have me do for you what I'm doing for them, which is to advertise their website, you can go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com, and if you take any of those courses and pass the test, I will do for you what I'm about to do for Patrick. So go to his website, patrick.thunderwizard.com, and take a look at what he offers. He has been certified by me, and he may have some other stuff on there, but go check him out. King Tut, questions. Is it true that our outer reality a reflection of our inner reality? I teach that. So I'm going to say yes. Also, does what we focus our attention on manifest in our outside reality? Does what we focus our attention on manifest? No. So King Tut, I'm guessing you're new to my channel. That is, you're kind of parroting what is the secret? What do they call that? You know what I'm talking about. I'm starting to get tired, so my brain isn't working so good. The law of attraction. So, King Tut, I invite you to go on my channel, and if you don't know how to do so, learn how to search within a specific channel, and you can type in law of attraction on my channel. You know, get the little menu that pulls down where you can put in search terms on my channel alone, and look for law of attraction. And you will hear me tell you why what you just asked is basically, at best, incomplete nonsense. Because that's kind of what you're saying is you're parroting the law of attraction, which is, you know, what you focus on is what you get. And that's not really how it works. And the reason why is because it makes you a passive recipient of things outside of you. And the universe doesn't work that way. You don't attract. In other words, sitting on the edge of your bed thinking about money and mustering up a bunch of happy feelings about money is not necessarily going to bring money to you. I'm not going to say that can't happen or doesn't happen, but the universe is more interested in the actions that you take. So if what you want is to be financially prosperous, then the thing that will bring that is when you take action towards doing something, teaching something, creating something, seeking out something by your actions that will bring you that thing. So it's not like sitting on your bed will manifest your reality. That's only partially true. There is some truth to that, but the real truth is that what you focus on, if it results in actions that you take, those actions will create things. You're creating it. But you won't realize the actions that you're taking to make it happen, both positive and negative. So it's not that what you're saying is 100% false. It's just there's more to it than that. That's a simplified way of saying it, that if we just follow that, usually most people end up going nowhere with that. Anyway, I encourage you to watch my videos on my Manifestation Mastery course. By the way, if you go to thunderwizard.com, one of the levels is the Manifestation Mastery course. And I teach you how to interact with the living universe and how you can literally flip the switches on and off to get the universe to give you the things that you want. But it's a little more, it's a little different than the way you asked it. But if you're interested in that, go to thunderwizard.com and click on Manifestation Mastery course. You can also find it on my channel. There's free videos on it, and then there's videos that I have that are for subscribers only. So if you want to look on my channel for Manifestation Mastery course, you can. You'll see no shortage of videos on there. Let's see what else. Okay. So, DC Pagan, you know how I feel. I really am not interested in having arguments back and forth. I feel like what you said here is kind of an argument. I said, show me, and bear in mind, your answer is not a direct response to my question. So you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. I said, show me a civilization that came out of violent revolution that maintained that. And you say Switzerland has been quite stable for 500 years. So good for you. You found an exception to the rule, but Switzerland doesn't fall into that. Switzerland was all about not being violent. Switzerland is a country that never gets into wars. They always stay neutral. So it's different from what I was saying, and it annoys me that you didn't hear what I said. At least that's how it feels to me. Maybe I misunderstood you. Black Earth Productions. Oh, yeah. Seattle is my hometown. Yeah, my ancestor founded it. Two of my ancestors did. Because my parents came from Kent, Washington. Now, Kent, Washington now is a suburb of Seattle, but when my parents grew up, it was a tiny little town in the middle of podunk nowhere. And but I went there once because I just wanted to see. Actually, I saw the house that my mom grew up in. Just to give you an idea how old I am. My mom was old. My mom was 36 when she had me, so she was already. They were born in the 20s, 1920, 100 years ago. My parents were born, almost 100 years ago. And they're both dead, obviously. And I went, and one of the things I wanted to see is I wanted to see the house my mom grew up in. And it was a cabin. It was like, it was a house, but you can see it was a log cabin. And and I went just out of curiosity. I went and looked at the phone, when they used to have those, phones on the street corner. And I went and looked at the phone book, and I opened it up, and it was filled with Clark's and Denny's. Clark, Lewis and Clark, if you know your history, that is one of my, direct ancestors. My mom's last name is Clark, and my dad's last name is Denny. And of course, Lewis and Clark, those are the guys that came from, they paved the way to, Seattle. They went across the country and, discovered it. Explored it and discovered it, and then some guy whose last name Denny went and founded Seattle. So, yeah. So congrats. So you can thank me for the city you grew up in, not me personally, of course. I didn't grow up in Seattle. Edwards 963 threw down 5. I think that's £5. Thank you very much. He says, just wanted to say that you say so much truth. I also learn more. Keep it up. So I appreciate the financial support. Zeralath, question. Many of the Grey's appearance used to give me, this is a question, I guess. Many of the Grey's appearance used to give me uniquely that deep sense of terror, one will sneak up on me or give me nightmares. Could this be a lost memory? Probably not, although I can't say it's not possible. But I think what it is that we've been programmed. If you've watched Communion, if you've watched Fire in the Sky, these are 2 movies and books. And if you've, this has been a disinformation campaign since the 40s, because the deep state knows that if we were to experience the real Greys, it would be a very different experience. It would be a very empowering experience. It wouldn't be a frightening one. So if you had that experience, you would no longer think of the universe the way we've been taught, which means that you would be out of that bubble of control that the deep state uses to control you. So they want you afraid of them. And I feel the same way you do. I did anyway. I used to be afraid of them. And I'm growing out of that. So I think that memory, I don't think it's a lost memory. I think it's just we've been programmed to feel that way. But how do I know? All right. That's not a question. Not a question. Zeralath, question. Wouldn't mining the moon change tidal lock and cause cataclysm? Well, the moon's pretty big. So you would have to take out, a huge mass of the moon. And I don't know that that's, the moon is big enough that you could do a lot of mining before you changed enough mass of the moon to change the gravitational pull of the moon. So I guess eventually, but no, I mean, think about it. Zerlath, the moon is pretty big. It would take a really, 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 really long time. I mean, I don't know that that's possible, what you're talking about. Daniel Borgeson, fun fact. All right, that's not a question. That's not a question. So Daniel Borgeson, welcome to the channel. Questions and feelings. Those are the two things I want. The rest of it is a bunch of static I got to scroll through. Resolute Yen, question. How many opportunities do we have for ascension? I don't know. Why would you ask that question? We have one coming up, and we have one right now. Why would you ask yourself how many? Are you planning to not ascend? I don't understand it. You're hungry, and it's 4:59, and the kitchen is going to serve you dinner at 5 o'clock. You have an opportunity in 1 minute to eat, and you're hungry. Do you then, as you're sitting at the dinner table, go, are there going to be other meals later? Why would you do that? Why would you ask that question? And how do I know? I mean, how would I know? Let me finish your question. I just wanted to let you know the thought process behind your question and just reflect back to you. Your mindset doesn't seem to be really in the present moment. It's not serving you in the moment. Well, let's see. You say, how many opportunities do we have for ascension evolving before the reverse happens? I don't know, but I mean, again, it's one thing if you don't know. I mean, if you're asking for yourself, it's a strange question. The only way that your question can make sense to me is if you're asking on behalf of other people that you care about, that you know are not aware. That would be the only, then you'd want to know, will they have a chance later? So the basis of your question is coming from fear. It's coming from lack. It's coming from what you don't have, what you won't get. It's a negative projection. So I don't think there's any use in me, even if I had the answer, I don't think it's helpful for me to answer it. The opportunity is here now. Take it. What else? Okay, no other, so Zerlath answered my question, I think, which was his fears came from basically watching television. Yeah, I understand. So this is why, everybody, I recommend you go watch Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. I recommend you watch all of Dr. Stephen Greer's movies, but that one's free. And there are so many people on here that have such a problem about paying for things. You want to go watch the free one. It's free on YouTube, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Go watch it right now and change your understanding of aliens, if you have fears. Nothing else? No other questions? Okay, so that's it. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Again, if you're new to the channel, listening to me blab on is about 1% of what this channel is about. If you really want to benefit from this channel, I recommend that you go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe. Subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. If you do, you'll have access to all of the other programs that I have. The Manifestation Mastery course, the Mastery of Shamanism course, and you can check out all of my other services and teachings. You can go to courses.thunderwizard.com. My books as well. Again, if you really want to make me happy and make me excited about answering your questions, read my books, watch the videos on this channel, ask intelligent questions based on what I've taught. Show me that you know how to think critically, and I will be excited to answer your questions. if you want access to the most powerful energy practice in the history of the human race on planet Earth, in my opinion and experience, go to maoshan.thunderwizard.com. I've just reduced the price by, get ready, $750. So, is that it? Another question came up as I was getting ready to leave here. Question: what do you think Roosevelt? You mean Roswell? What do you think Roswell was about? I mean, that's a huge question. Nothing personal. I mean, it's just, what do you want me to say? I know the same thing that you know. That there was a crashed alien craft that was probably shot down by humans, and that there was 5 aliens. 4 of them were dead. 1 of them was alive. They took the craft in, and for the past 70 years, they've been using that craft to reverse engineer anti-gravitational stuff and all kinds of other things. I'm not telling you anything that isn't out there. So you're asking me what I think. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but that's what I've heard, and I don't disbelieve that. I hope that's helpful. All right, no more questions. That's it for me, guys. I wish you guys all the best. Take care, and we'll come on here tomorrow. Friday, it's already Friday my time because I'm in Florida. So I'll come on here Friday, we'll talk some more, and then I will do some kind of live streaming on Saturday, getting myself prepared, or, you know, beforehand. It'll probably be, if you're on the West Coast, it'll be during the day, because I'll have to do it before it gets dark here. And that's it. I can't think of anything else at the moment. So I wish you guys all the best. Thank you for showing up, and support the channel and check out all the links, etc., etc., so that I can stay alive and eat. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. Take back your soul. This is another transmission from Mahadeva here at thunderwizard.com headquarters, where you find the world's only unified spiritual energy system at thunderwizard.com. Get ready, because here I come.